So we're into the 22nd day of the government shutdown, and I was curious about my fellow federal employee brethren and sistren. And so I went out to this site. Called partnershipforpublicservice.org, and I'll have the link in the description below. But I just was curious about how the numbers were looking across, the furlough numbers were looking across the agencies, some of the agencies, just who laid off what, and how much. And this website does a good job of, well, according to this website, it was last updated around the 8th of October, and it gives an indication of a breakdown by agency about what percentage of their population was furloughed, who furloughed without pay, who is working without pay, and who is working with pay. So this is pretty interesting. Let's take a look at these agencies. First, I want to acknowledge the federal employee population by state across the states, which I think is pretty cool. And y'all can see where we at. The only state I haven't worked in California, but all these other bluish states I've probably done some sort of work as a federal employee. But you see California, Texas, Virginia, D.C., and Maryland heavily representing the federal employee population. Just thought that was interesting. And so here you have the federal employee percentage of the population furloughed broken down by agency. And man, just look off the top. EPA off the top. Almost 90%, 88% of their staff is furloughed, according to this document. Now, do your own Googles and searches, but that's crazy. EPA. So who was looking after our environment and everything associated with that for the past 22 days? Wow. Education, we knew. They just, gutted that. I assumed that education was going to be number one, but it's following very closely behind EPA. NASA coming in at 3. I mean, who's looking? 3. Let's see. 82%, 83% of NASA's staff has been furloughed. Who's looking after our things in space? Wow, that's a huge number for NASA. I wouldn't think NASA would have that much staff furloughed. Commerce, yeah, I expected them to get hit badly. So, Commerce at 80%, Department of Labor at 75%. Let's look through some of these agencies. Federal employees during a 2025 shutdown. I'm just going to trust that this information is reliable from this source. I mean, they got 2025 up here. It doesn't say projections. It looks like it's actually what it is, but do your own research in Google. But USDA, agency that protects our food, school meals, supports farmers, food safety, SNAP. Off the break, they're saying they got 42,000 staff furloughed. Wow. 32,000 currently working without pay. And 11,000 working with pay. I know some people over at the USDA, some staff, some other HR folks, and thankfully they're still there, but man, at least I think they're still there. I don't know if they're a part of this group. Oh, well. Let's go on to the next agency. Commerce, which protects our U.S. businesses, our trade, our tech. 35,000 people furloughed. 6,000 working without pay. I don't know who would be working without pay at Commerce. If y'all know, chime in and let me know, because I'm not really familiar with Department of Commerce. And then, what is that? 2,000 working with pay is probably all senior level or top admin support staff. I don't know. Department of Defense. Defense wins championships. No, the Department of War. 335,000 furloughed. I'm assuming this is all Department of Defense federal civilians. 335,000. 224 working without pay. 224,000 working without pay. 183,000 working with pay. Somebody gotta keep the lights on. Education, okay, we already know what time it was with education. I mean, that's pretty much all of them until those last little 333, whatever it is they doing, get let go or moved out. Energy. It's our Department of Energy, y'all. Man. Energy manages national labs, nuclear programs, and promotes clean energy. 8,000 of them furloughed. 4,000 of them working with pay. 2,000 working without pay. Health and Human Services. Got people over there too. 35,000 working with pay. 32,000 furloughed. And 12,000 roughly working without pay. This is our Medicare, our Medicaid, NIH. That's a lot of people. Department of Homeland Security. 213,000 working without pay. Everybody feeling some kind of way about DHS right now, but they still, my brethren and sisters, still feel bad for those people. Let's see, 44,000 working with pay, and then for only 14,000 furloughed. But I just read someplace, I thought I read someplace where Trump was going to cut them a check, so they should be getting paid. I'm assuming those cartel officers, the Homeland Security, the ICE agents or whatever, I'm assuming that they're in that group of 213,000 without pay, but Trump has said they're going to get checks, so let's see. HUD, and now we knew HUD was about to be all dark blue. 4,000, I'm surprised they still have 4,000 furloughed, 2,000 working without pay. And I can't even read that number. It's so small. My eyes are too old. Interior. They manage our parks and wildlife and all that kind of good stuff. 31,000 furloughed, 19,000 working with pay, 8,000 without pay. Justice. Yes. Damn shame. We ain't got no justice. We ain't got no peace. And we got 97,000 in there working without pay. That's not going to last long. And people that number's going to drop. We got 13,000 furloughed and a small handful working with pay. Labor, worker protections, unemployment, 10,000 people furloughed, 3,000 working without pay. State Department. Now, they're going to keep these people working. 17,000 still working, which is great. 10,000 furloughed. I wonder which area they furloughed. It'd be nice if they had to break down the areas of operation within these agencies, but that would probably be way too much to ask. Transportation. Working without pay. God bless you, TSA agents, and doing what you're doing. 30,000 working without pay, 12 furloughed, and 12,000 working with pay. Treasury, IRS. Now, you know that they ain't gonna mess with those people. They ain't gonna mess with the people in the purse strings. And I hope that they don't. They need to restore all these people back to their jobs. The VA, they ain't gonna mess with these veterans and this veteran support. At least not yet. They're working on a way. I don't know. At least not yet. We'll see. But we got 417,000 still working with pay, a small amount working without, and a very small amount furloughed. EPA, woo! Yeah, that's what I was looking at earlier. EPA, 13,000. What was that? 89% of their agency furloughed. Environmental protection's just, nobody's looking after anything. GSA. Now, this is, I don't even know. I'm feeling some kind of way about this. Again, I'm not, no, respect to my fellow feds. I don't want any of this to be happening to you, but GSA, maybe, the working with pay, maybe all they have to keep these people on because they're still trying to figure out where to place people and, got to have those government contracts and all of that, manage federal buildings and government contracts. This is Leon's doing. Leon has those big government contracts, so they can't lay off his people or people supporting his government contracts. Okay, let's see who is next. We looked at NASA. NASA, 15%. Excuse me, 15,000 laid off. 3,000 working. Who looking at it? Unbelievable. Who's overseeing the space satellites and all of that? NSF. NSF, I don't really remember. The National Science Foundation. NSF, the National Science Foundation. Yeah. Well, it's science, so it's quite naturally. I'm surprised this agency is actually still standing. 1,000 furloughed. Even if it's small, that's a huge amount of people that are furloughed. Such a shame. OPM. Those people are gonna be working because all these balls they're juggling. Small Business Administration. Yeah, they're gonna keep those people up. Small Business Administration has to keep those loans going. And who else? Social Security. Wow. Social Security Administration, 45,000 working without pay. 6,000 furloughed. An even smaller amount working with pay. 45,000 civilians working with pay, having to force to go in. It's a shakedown. That's a setup. They're going to make those people work, not pay them. They're going to get disgruntled. The system, an already congested system, is going to even get further slowed down as these people become top. And last but not least, NRC. Who the hell is NRC? NRC. Oh, Nuclear Regulatory Commission. Oh my God. Regulates civilian use of the nuclear energy and materials. Wow. Regulates civilian use of the nuclear energy and materials. 2,000, small agency, but half the agency gone, more than half. 2,000 furloughed, 828 working without pay. This is. I'm gonna go back and actually, make sure this site is factual. This analysis is factual. I don't see why it would not be, but this is crazy. So I personally believe that the shutdown is going to go for longer than the last one, which was 31 days. I think they're really going to take this on into towards the end of the year. I pray that they don't. I hope that I'm wrong, but I think that this is going to definitely blow past the 31 days. That's a lot of people.